No, I'm gonna stop you there. The physicality is funner. I
You
don't
know
even,
what?
that's not even
You know what?
remotely English.
Some sort of foreign talk or something.
Don't judge me.
No, we're judging. Welcome to the Goomba Stomp podcast. How are you guys doing today? Swanson, twos.
Super duper.
Not too shabby.
All right, cool. Today we'll be talking about our top 5 favorite weapons over any game that we've ever played, and we won't be doing any repeats from each franchise, so only one weapon can be represented per franchise. So, Swanson, why don't you kick it off?
Number 5 for me is the Explosive Ninja Star from Kirby 64. It was a really fun weapon for me. Whenever you threw the projectiles, they just stick to targets and then explode, which was, I mean, there's always bombs in Kirby, but it was something pretty unique to 64. And I kind of wish they'd bring it back in a later game because it was just so rewarding to throw your stars at an enemy and then just watch it helplessly explode.
Cool. Twos?
Number 5 for me, I have the foam finger from Saints Row.
Nice.
Yeah, there's nothing better than just pimp slapping someone like across the map. Like, before I played that game, I had never seen such a weapon before and such a foam finger. Like, who thinks of that? And then to have a foam finger smack you across the map, I just so many hilarious moments with that.
Yeah,
I
I
just-
remember when we'd
yeah.
have our little face-offs on there, our duels, and it would give us both the foam finger pimp slap, and we'd just walk towards each other, and you really have to time it right just to hit somebody, and they just go flying across the city.
Yeah, you get pissed too because like I swear I hit you first, and then it's like nope.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun memories right there. My number 5 was fly-by-wire missiles, I believe they were called, from Perfect Dark. And I think they've been in a couple other games too that I've played. And basically what they are missiles that you can control. There's a little camera on the missile, so when you shoot it, you can control the missile itself. And in Perfect Dark, you could even like stall it, so you could slow it way down, so you could turn corners and stuff really easily. And I just remember hiding in a corner on Perfect Dark, facing the bots, me and Austin, and I just used those missiles, and I would just go really slow through the whole map and just find the bad guys and just bomb them. It was just tons of fun. I love anytime those missiles, those type of missiles, like even Predator missiles, I guess, to a degree. But yeah, those missiles in that game is just tons of fun to be able to control something like that. So yeah, it definitely brings back a lot of memories.
I hated you and those missiles. I'd be walking down a freaking hallway and just turning the corner would be another missile, and every time I got the gun and tried to use it, it never worked right. Bike would blow up and kill me accidentally, or I just hated that. It was like being hunted down by a missile. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy to think of it being in a game now, to that degree that it was in Perfect Dark. But man, that was tons of fun back in the day.
It's just like, it reminds me of Looney Tunes. Like, you're like walking along, all of a sudden some kind of missile comes around the corner and like sees you, and then
the missile's just following you down the hallway.
like la-di-da, just mind my own business. The missile comes around the corner and blows you up. You're like, what? Where'd that come from?
I just picture the missile just being able to tap you on the shoulder, like a little robot arm comes out of the missile and taps you on the shoulder,
and then blows up.
Like, yeah, I'm a missile, and I'm gonna kill you now.
It rapes you first.
It just totally desecrates you and then blows up. All right, Swanson, number 4.
Number 4 for me is the Boomerang from the Zelda franchise. Really, any incarnation is pretty awesome. especially the one from uh, Link's Awakening, because it was super overpowered and it was really hard to get. It was like stronger than the entire, like the best sword in the game, and you could kill pretty much almost any enemy with it. And if you couldn't kill him, you could still stun him, so you could kill him with it.
Yeah.
And even the newer ones are pretty fun. I really like the whole like multi-targeting boomerangs they had in like Wind Waker and later on, or like the Gale boomerang and Twilight Princess. It was just a really fun weapon overall because it was something you could never run out of ammo, and it was pretty much always useful.
Yeah.
I like to use it in Super Smash Brothers a lot.
Yeah, definitely. All right, twos.
Well, my number 4 is also from Perfect Dark, as yours was. I put the laptop gun.
Yeah, I remember that.
I love that gun because you could just sit there, throw it into like an entrance, and then you go hide in a corner, and it just weaken them, and then you just take them out. And there's nothing better than just, I guess it is kind of being a little bitch, but I really enjoyed just camping with that thing. It's like the camper's ultimate weapon, I guess you could say. So,
yeah, back in the days of split screen and all that, games weren't balanced as much as they are today. It doesn't seem, and they always had those types of fun guns. Especially Perfect Dark was really good about that. That's my favorite thing about Perfect Dark was that every weapon had like two modes to it, or two effective ways to use it. Whereas the laptop gun, you can use it like a machine gun or whatever you call that, and then you could throw it on the wall as a laptop gun. That was definitely really.
Yeah, it was more. I think it was more effective when you deployed it as a turret though than actually just carrying it around.
Yeah,
because it wasn't a very powerful gun, but it was one of the guns that if you deployed it, attached it, and then it became really useful because it would really weaken you, and then you just finish them up with whatever else you got. Yeah, it could be pretty annoying at times too. So, because you could deploy it anywhere. You could put it like on the ceiling, I think, on the walls, on the floor.
Yeah.
So you could pretty much deploy it anywhere and be almost impossible to see it.
For sure. So, yeah, there's a lot of great guns in that game, great gadgets. There's tons of weapons in that game. Just tons of fun.
Definitely.
My number 4 is the Tomahawk from Black Ops. That playing Sticks and Stones was tons of fun. Being able to just use Tomahawk, the ballistic knives, and whatever else they had on there, and being able to use the Tomahawk to bring people back to zero is just so much fun. It's just one of those that's difficult to use, but once you get used to it, it's just something you don't want to put down. There's something so satisfying, as with any of these weapons that we mentioned on this list. There's just something so satisfying about throwing that Tomahawk, 10, 20 yards and just nailing a guy in one shot kill. It's just awesome. It's an awesome feeling. It's tough to pull off, and I think that's what a great weapon, or what makes a great weapon for that matter. It's something that, not all of these are tough, but they're just tons of fun to use. But the best ones, in my opinion, are the ones that are tough to use, but when you do it right, it's such a good payoff, and that's what this one was for sure.
I'll tell you what, with Sticks and Stones, will always suck that when you missed with the Tomahawk.
Yeah.
You're like, crap, I have a ballistic knife now.
Yeah.
And you can't do that from a range, so you're just I'm screwed.
Definitely.
Maybe you gotta go pick it up and find it. It's in a snow level and you just can't find it anywhere. You're like, where did it go?
Yeah, that reminds me, and that's another good thing about the Tomahawk is you can just pick it up and use it again. That was one of the coolest parts about it. Not very much in a game where you can just something like a grenade or a knife or something that you throw in any game can you use and then go and pick it back up. So I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, if you could find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good pick.
Swanson?
My number 3 is the snake gun from Cave Story. It was there's 3 routes you could go for your final weapon in the game. There was one that you got really early on. It was just a machine gun, and it ended up being really powerful in the early game. Then later on, it kind of tithered off. And then there was a charge beam, which was the strongest, and you had to wait the longest to get. But my favorite was the one you had. It was kind of the middle ground. It was the snake gun that had a nice, unique ability where it went through walls. So it was a really, really utilitarian weapon because you could just hide behind walls and just shoot right through them and hit enemies from behind it while protecting yourself, because it's definitely a game where if you get hit more than 3 times, you're probably going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, those actually like guns always suck.
Yeah, it's like the one in
playing
Perfect
against-
Dark, just getting shot through a wall.
So it's along the concept of just walking along, mind your own business, and just cap to the head. Or
Yeah. All right,
all right.
go ahead.
My number 3 is it's actually Scorpion Spear. So because every time I play Mortal Kombat, I'm always Scorpion, and there's nothing cooler than just freaking impaling a guy and then pulling him over to you and comboing his ass, basically. Like, I don't know. I just always had a lot of fun using Scorpion Spear, especially with the newer games, because they did a lot more with it, especially the newest one, where you can use it as a grab and just shove it in your opponent and then throw them and bring it back down, and just the different ways that he uses the spear. It's one of my favorite weapons.
Yeah, it's definitely a flashy weapon. Definitely one of the most iconic ones in a fighting game that I can think of. You got your Hadoukens, and then the spear has to be right up there. Scorpion Spear, definitely an awesome weapon visually, and just it's one of those, like you said, or as I mentioned earlier, it's fun to pull off, and the catchphrase and all that, it just looks really cool.
I mean, get over here. I mean,
yeah, you impale somebody with a spear across the
spear.
room and then drag him over. It's really
punch
awesome.
him and uppercut him in the face. Like, not only did you just get stabbed by a spear, dragged over, then you just get uppercutted in the jaw. Like, but yeah, I mean, and more so, the spear comes like just with this newer game that they released not too long ago was just everything they did with the spear. It's just they really utilized it more, which is really cool. And I really enjoyed that, the different utilizations with that.
Yeah, like shoving it up into their jaw and then kicking them away until it catches and then they fall onto the ground, or his fatality where he stabs it into their chest, wraps it around them, then kicks them through a portal and they hang themselves. And they're just a skeleton. Definitely. Yeah, spear is awesome. My number 3 would be the Retro Lancer. This was a tough call between the chainsaw, the torque bow, and the Retro Lancer from Gears of War, but I have to go with the Retro Lancer, even though it's the most recent out of them. It's only been in Gears of War 3. I just had so much fun, more so than chainsawing and the torque bow. Just running from, like I said, running from 20 yards away in a full-on charge with a bayonet, basically, and just impaling some guy, lifting him up in the air, and then swinging him, throwing him on the ground, or kicking them off. It just was so brutal, so bloody, and it was just so satisfying when you pulled that off. Something about charging through gunfire. You hear all these shots and explosions going off, and all you're doing is just running full blast at somebody and dominating them. It's one of those showman type of ones where it's definitely you're doing it for the animation to see yourself stab somebody and then lift them up in the air. So it's not a simple type of thing. It's definitely one of those that you're putting yourself out there, but the reward is so much fun.
Or you think you're cool because you can impale people too? Huh?
Yeah. Something about impaling people.
Yeah, definitely though. The Retro Lancers, there's something about it too that's just so up close and personal.
Yeah, definitely.
Like when you land someone and you just straight up hauled ass, like, and then just stab them.
Exactly.
And then it's just like, that's right, that just happened.
Yeah.
Let's say the sawed-off shotgun, then it's kind of like, dang.
Like with the chainsaw, you go up to them and you hear the chainsaw coming. It's very intimidating, which is why that weapon is so fun, is because you rev your chainsaw and then you run up and then you saw them in half, and that's awesome. But then you have the torque bow, which you have you have to charge it up, and then when you hit it, it makes that nice little noise, that little thud, and then all of a sudden they explode a couple seconds later. And that's cool.
The Retro Lancers is like silent and deadly.
You just hear hear some guy running up to you, and you look right behind you or to your side, and some guy's just charging you, and you're doing your best to react quickly, but then you just get impaled right in the stomach or in the back, and it's just visually awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Swanson?
Number 2 for me is the Spazer Beam from Super Metroid. It's not like the most powerful weapon in the game, but it's, I think, one of the coolest because all it does is just split your beam into three, and it was just so awesome seeing your single little beam just to go into three and just like spam enemies with it. It like gave you so much more range and everything. It was just really fun because I mean, who doesn't want a wider beam?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Wait, what? What are we talking about now?
You're talking
Beam,
about
that's
what
right.
your number 2 is.
My number 2 is the plasma grenade from Halo. There's nothing cooler than sticking someone from across the map or just really that last revenge. Like someone's got a shotgun or a sword and they're just freaking kicking your butt, and you just stick them in the face after they kill you, and you like it's just like a final take that. Like you get your last say, and just throughout the whole game, just with friends or yourself or me, like it's so cool to see different sticks that people have. Not even me, like I've had some pretty cool sticks, but also just seeing some of the sticks you have has been really enjoyable. And it's just some of the coolest memories from Halo comes from a sticky grenade.
Definitely, it's one of those that the sound is iconic. Like you just hear that as soon as you stick somebody, you just hear that noise and then they explode. It's one of those just satisfying things visually, audible. It just sounds good, looks cool, and you can get multi kills with it. You can stick somebody from across the map. It just opens up so many possibilities.
Stick vehicles.
Yeah, sticking vehicles. It's just a versatile weapon, and it's just fun to use.
And I think too, it's actually one of the first like grenades where I think it was one of the first video games where they allowed you to stick grenades onto an opponent.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a whole lot that I can recall where you could throw a grenade and stick it to an opponent before Halo, for the plasma grenade.
I think the only thing I can think of personally is like a remote mine of some sorts, but just an actual grenade that you have to throw and stick onto somebody. Yeah, I can't remember any before that because we're talking back in 2001. So yeah.
The only thing that came remotely close to that would probably be the remote mines and time splitters.
Yeah.
Even then, I think that might have been after the fact.
I don't remember.
Still,
I think it was
I'm not sure.
It was somewhere around the same time. But yeah, definitely the sticky grenades. That's the first time I can personally recall being able to stick with grenades. But it might have been sooner. But yeah, definitely.
Even then though, because with the sticking grenade, it gave you the ability to like stick someone from like across a level, or because even with the remote mines, you still have to be pretty close with someone to get them to stick. With the grenade, it was really a distance thing. Like it was to see how far, how cool a stick you could get and pull it off.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I remember the remote mines especially. I remember we just play games with only remote mines and just run around trying to throw remote mines at each other.
Yeah, in Time Splitters, that was tons of fun. You could always put like 4 remote mines on it. Like a guy could be covered in remote mines and running away, and you just wait till the opportune time to blow him up. It's tons of fun. Yeah, mines and grenades in general are some of my favorite things in every type of shooter game. They're so tactical. They're so useful in so many situations, and it's just one of those things like we talked about.
Especially the C4 in Saints Row.
Yeah,
you seem to enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah,
satchel packs.
Yeah, the satchel packs. It's the same concept. There's just something funny about using grenades and mines, etc., in a way that people aren't expecting, as either like blowing up your own car after you drive it into an enemy base, or however you want to do it. It's just tons of fun. But yeah, that's why the sticky grenade is. It's very associated with Halo in that regard, even though other games now have had their own versions of sticky grenades. None of them compare to what Halo's done. There's no other game that I can think of where you can use a grenade that sticks onto somebody that I've enjoyed nearly as much as in Halo, just because it's...
Well, I just don't know how they do it, too, because just the way, I don't know, like, just the way it throws and the way, I don't know, it just seems like the physicality to it is just, it's so much funner than, like, okay, so, like, Modern Warfare brought in the Simtech grenade. Yeah. It's the same concept, but for some reason it's just not as fun as that plasma grenade.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop you there. The physicality is funner. I don't
You know what?
That's not even
You know what?
remotely English.
Some sort of foreign talk or something.
Don't judge me.
No, we're judging.
I know.
All right, my number 2 is the red shell from Mario Kart. Tons. I mean, you have your green shells. You have. I was struggling between the red shell and the power up star, being able to use that to knock into anybody and go faster. I mean, that's an awesome ability, but something so satisfying. You know you have money in the bank. That's what the red shell is. Anybody that passes you is screwed. If you're in first and you have that red shell, I mean, you have to have it before you get into first, but if you get that red shell and you get your way to first, you're pretty much going to win if you play smart. And it's just
Well, until someone throws a lightning bolt
yeah,
or
no,
a blue
but
shell out of
yeah,
nowhere.
I'm not saying it's uncounterable. I'm saying it's just like I said, it's money in the bank. Anybody pass you, you can hit them with the red shell. No matter what, I mean, that goes for any place that you're in. It's just awesome to know that you have a tracking shell that as soon as they pass you, you can send it on their way. Especially when you get the 3 red shells, you're set. I mean, if you play well, you can totally, and not only that, but you can hit the same person multiple times, so it's hilarious. So
Especially when
somebody passes you, you hit them once, and then as soon as they start to drive again, before you even get up to them, you can hit them again. It's just tons of fun, and they don't even have to be in your view. You don't have to track on. It's just an instant. Okay, this is going for the person ahead of me. It really helps balance out the game in that aspect that nobody is completely out of luck. You know, people that are in the back, that's when they get the red shells, etc., and those type of weapons to help them. And the red shell has always been, like I said, we're talking about how it's not been in. That was the first to introduce that type of thing. I can't think of any other racing game that's had that type of thing, at least not before Mario Kart. Obviously, there wasn't a whole lot of goofy racing games before Mario Kart, but dating back to Super Nintendo. But the weapon it's just an awesome thing, and it's even gone on to like Super Smash Brothers and stuff like that, and it's still fun to use.
Yeah, definitely. And the best part about the shells too is you get 3 of them. I think it's more in the later games than anything, but then they spin around your car and it's almost like a shield,
Yeah, that too.
and it blocks a lot of the other moves off.
Yeah,
which is
any
good.
weapon that can be used for multiple purposes definitely helps too. Like I said, it's all about the versatility, and the red shell definitely has that.
Cool. Cool,
Well, if you're gonna talk versatility, that definitely ties into my number 1, which I'd say is probably one of the most versatile weapons I've ever seen in the game, and probably easily my favorite weapon in any game, is the Celestial Brush from Okami. It's the most fun weapon I've ever used in any game, just because of the sheer amount of possibilities you can do with it. I mean, you can grow trees, you can cut things in half, you can make bombs, you can make wind blow, you can make lightning strike, you can start fires, flow water, build bridges, pretty much
So
everything
what
the
you're
game
saying
allows you
is
to
your
do with
weapon
it.
is playing God.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, that's why
it
it's a
sounds
celestial brush.
it sounds like God's pocket knife. So the Swiss Army
Well,
knife of God.
You do play as a god in that game at least. You're the sun goddess from Shintoism, and you're trying to get your powers back because you've lost a lot of your faith.
Yeah.
And you're playing as a wolf, and you have this brush that allows you to you stop time when you pull out the brush and you just draw. It was with the PS2 controller, so it was a little awkward at first, but like I eventually got used to it with the analog stick.
So let me get this straight. You're an artistic god dog that has lost its faith.
Yeah, and you also have like a little cricket guy as a companion.
Oh, okay. So Jiminy Cricket is now in the game. Okay.
It's easily one of my favorite games of all time. The Wii port was really disappointing as far as the controls because they substituted a lot of controls to just waggle when they could have easily used a button that was on the Wiimote. But one of my favorite PS2 games of all time and one of my favorite games, and definitely one of the most fun weapons of all time.
All right.
Very cool. My number 1 is actually, it's not the most flashy, I suppose, of weapons. doesn't cause any big explosions or rapid fire or anything like that. But it is the hidden retractable blade in Assassin's Creed. Just the assassinations that you pull off with that weapon is just awesome. And like jumping from a 5-story building and stabbing 2 guards in the face at the same time. It's just doesn't get any better than that for me personally. Like, it's just so cool, the assassinations you pull off with that, coming up behind a guard, stabbing him, and yeah. So to me, that was a really, really fun weapon. And there's nothing cooler than just hiding. There's something that's not even there that you just, like Wolverine, your freaking knives out of your wrists. So yeah, that's my number 1.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely an awesome weapon, and one of my favorite things about the Assassin's Creed series. I mean, any game where you have a knife, be it Halo for assassinations or Splinter Cell for basically the same thing, assassinating people, and Assassin's Creed for assassinating people, there's just something cool about a blade, you know, using a blade to just get, like you said, up close and personal. And it's always a cool animation. With a gun, it's not always cool, you know. You snipe somebody in the head, that's cool looking, you feel good about yourself for being able to pull off such a skillful thing. But to be able to get that close to somebody without them killing you and then just stabbing them in a obviously cool way, whether you're slitting their throat or just stabbing them in the chest, and it always looks very theatrical and very showmanship, like I said before. It's just that's always one of the coolest things in each game when they offer that type of weapon. So yeah, definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, you're walking around like, I'm cool, bro. Shink, stab, you're dead. Yeah. Sees it coming.
And my number 1 is kind of similar to that, but on a different vein, and that would be the energy sword from Halo. And I was going to choose Plasma Grenade, but then after I actually thought about it for a little bit more, what weapon... We talked about how Plasma Grenade was kind of... No other game had that before Halo. I can't think of it. Like, the energy sword almost defines Halo in its style, how it completely... It's a very diverse sandbox of weapons that isn't... You know, it's still a sci-fi shooter, so an energy sword completely fits in, and I couldn't think of a first-person shooter before that, and I could definitely be wrong. There's a lot that I haven't played, but between, like, the GoldenEyes and Perfect Darks, up to Halo, etc., or even, like, Wolfenstein, I can't think of, like, a cool energy sword looking that, like a blade, that when you first get it, it's not deployed. It's almost like a lightsaber in that regard. That's obviously their inspiration behind it. You grab it, and it's just a handle, and then it pops out with a cool noise to it. If you hear that, if you hear an energy sword deploy, you're like, you know, when around the corner, you know to get the hell out of there because you're screwed. So it's one of those intimidation factors. You see a guy coming with an energy sword, you're going to be scared. And it's something that, you know, you saw before you could ever use it, because you saw it in campaign in Halo 1, I believe, if not Halo 2, before you ever could ever use it. So you didn't really, you know, you didn't understand it. So the first time you encounter something like that, you have no idea of how powerful it is. It's a one-hit kill, and it also has a lunge to it, which also makes for a lot of fun situations to it. So it doesn't just look cool. It doesn't just sound cool. It's a fun weapon to use. I mean, if you're diving off a ledge, you can lock onto somebody and just, you know, lunge towards them and slice them. You can use it to melee people quickly in succession. You can even there are some fun glitches with the weapon, and it's just, I feel like I said, that defines Halo. You show somebody a plasma grenade or any other weapon from Halo, and they may not associate that with Halo, because every first-person shooter shares the same type of similar gun, sniper rifle, assault rifle type of thing, and a frag grenade, sticky grenade, like you said, that also sticks out pretty well, no pun intended. But that plasma sword, you show anybody that knows anything about gaming in that regard, first-person shooters, they're instantly going to think Halo for good reason. And that, like I said, that just defines Halo. It's such an interesting, unique weapon that I haven't experienced in any other game. I'm not saying no other game has that, melee type of weapon in a first-person shooter, but not as cool as the energy sword was. I feel like that was the original cool melee weapon to be introduced that could hang with, that was it. People seek out the energy sword over, a sniper rifle, and that says something about it if it's that cool and that fun to use.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it too, like before Halo, I think Halo was really the first one to bring a decent melee weapon like that into a first-person shooter. Really, it was kind of the first one to really make melee a lot of fun in a first-person shooter, if you think about it too. Before, like, you picked up a knife or something, like any first-person shooter before, like, oh crap, a knife, a bladed weapon, you're like, I'm screwed.
Only thing I could think of was in, like, GoldenEye where you could slap people.
But yeah, even then, it's not to the extent that the energy sword was with the lunge. The first time that I think you could really lunge with a weapon, energy sword really brought that. And this is one of those things because, like I said before, if you ever had a knife, usually a knife is what you were given until you found a better weapon, and then a gun or something. In Halo, it's almost the opposite. It's like you got guns, but you find an energy sword, you're like, screw this gun, I'm getting this. You actually seek out the melee bladed weapon. Which before that, there really wasn't that concept of it. It wasn't really brought to life like that before. So
yeah, I literally just said all that.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with you.
I know. I
gotta be a dick.
Well, I mean, it doesn't even extend to the weapon aspect. I think the energy sword is so awesome just because of all the fun we had sword canceling and rocket canceling back in Halo 2.
Yeah, that was it. It's just been a fun weapon. I can't think of a time in Halo where the sword hasn't been fun. Even, I think, like I said, it was introduced to be able to use in Halo 2. And, 3 games later, you got Halo 2, you got Halo 3, Halo Reach, ODST, etc. And now on to Halo 4. It's still just as fun to use. When you grab that sword and you see it there at the spawn or whatever, and you get to grab that, it's still just as fun as always to use.
It's just like one of those weapons that you grab and you're like, yep, I'm getting a kill spree now.
Yeah, it's
like
if you use it right,
dominate.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
All right, well, cool. That wraps up our list. Great choices by everyone. That was really awesome. I love talking about weapons like that. It's just weapons in games, be it something, weapons we don't always associate things as weapons, but just about every type of game has a weapon in one way or another. Like we said, the red shell, or the sticky grenade, or the conventional weapon like a gun, or just using a vehicle as a weapon. I mean, we could talk about how the Ghost and Banshee from Halo are fun to use as weapons, or a tank in another game, etc. It's just so many...
Well, there's just so much out there. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We could probably do this again and have completely different answers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, just... even though I have what I have here, it doesn't necessarily mean that's all it is. That's all I like. I mean, there's just so much. There's so much to choose from, and I mean, we could probably do this 100 times over, and still not come up with the same things.
Yeah, people come up with top 100s of greatest weapons in gaming, so that speaks to just how many different things there are out there worth mentioning. All right, well then let's move on to the last thing we're going to be talking about, and that's arcades. We're going to be doing A through Z of gaming over the course of this podcast. We may not always do it every week, but we're going to start with A today, so let's talk about arcades. Just kind of our general reminiscing of it, or just fun memories of arcades and how, they're not really as available these days. It doesn't seem like anybody wants to go to the arcade anymore. And why drop a few quarters or $10 at an arcade when you can just purchase a game and get a lot more time out of it and fun out of it, so to speak. But I feel like the arcade's a lost concept these days.
It really is. I mean, it's kind of sad because you think of when you're a kid and your parents took you to the arcade, or whoever took you to the arcade, and you went there, and it's just like, man, it was just like Christmas. Just all these games, and you never knew what you wanted to play, and then the concept of tickets and prizes, and I mean, I can't tell you how much fun we've spent at Family Fun Center as kids, and how enjoyable that was.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's just one of those things. I mean, it's a different aspect. It's a different feeling. Everyone's just so about sitting at home now and playing online, and you're not really interacting with your friends. Yeah, sure, you're talking to them, but they're not there, and And it's just something about that getting together and you're playing games one on one versus, and just the whole feel of the arcade is different. With joysticks and um, yeah, I mean, it really is a lost concept, and it's sad. You don't see them around as much, and then once you do it, it just seems like the maintenance isn't what it should be. Even if you do find arcade, it's not always maintained as well as it should be. So the games have been let go and not taken care of or maintained. So that creates kind of a problem too. So I can sit here and play my games and not have a problem with it and know it works, or go to an arcade where half the games aren't even turned on anymore. That was part of the problem with Family Fun Centers. That time you went there anymore, half the games were broken down.
Yeah, and I just feel like there's certain games that are better experienced in the arcade, and you get a certain, like you said, there's a certain experience or feeling, excitement to an arcade that you just don't get at home. Maybe it's being able to play against strangers, even though you can do that online now, but just being able to play against strangers face to face and just kind of have fun with it, or play games. The arcade has games that you don't have at home. So being able to play even air hockey or spaceball and stuff like that are at arcades, it's still fun, and you just can't get that at home unless you want to drop a few $100s on a freaking air hockey table.
It'll be a lot more than a few $100s.
Yeah, you play like once in a blue moon.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it's tons of fun, and it is very depressing to see how little arcades are taken care of. I mean, maybe it's just our area, but yeah, it just definitely seems like a dying thing to go out to an arcade. And that's a shame, because so many great games started out in the arcades. I mean, Mortal Kombat, one of my favorite franchises, obviously, started out in the arcades. And it's still tons of fun to be able to play it in the arcades. Fighting games in general are still, in my opinion, a great arcade experience, to be able to just put a quarter in and then fight each other, and the winner goes on. And that, to me, is awesome.
Exactly. I mean, think back to the days, so before Xbox Live, where you could play anyone you want, before that, it was an arcade machine. And there was a popular game, there was a line.
Yeah.
You win, you stay, you lose, you leave, and then the next person steps in.
Yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't get any more up close and personal than that, and it's just, and it has that human interaction, and it's almost more like, when you play sports, you have a tournament, you have a winner, you have a loser, the winner moves on and competes that way, and it's just, I don't know, there's more to have the human aspect there. Like, you win, you either kind of be cocky about it or whatever, or be like, you can congratulate the person, good game, whatever. I mean, that brought a lot of fun to it too, and you just don't get that online. Like, online too, it's just someone gets pissed off at you because they're not doing good, they just quit out.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that at arcade. People don't usually do that in arcade. They'll play through the game. They might get mad, not say anything, and leave, but it's just...
There's a little bit more respect aspect in the arcade, because, if you act like a complete jackass, you're going to get your ass kicked or chewed out. Yeah. Whereas people that can be anonymous online just act like complete jerks or little kids and completely disrespectful. So yeah, that up close and personal aspect is kind of lost in that regard. There used to be, you wish each other a good game, and if you lost, you had to go back and you wanted to fight them again. Now it's just, everyone talks trash completely, and it's not just, fun trash talking for competitive aspect. It's just complete, like,
just being a dick is all it is. Like, and it's just ridiculous, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, the arcade is just it's a dying thing, and it is depressing. It's kind of sad to see it, because as kids, that's what you did. It was funner to go to the arcade and hang out and get tickets, prizes, and face different people on the arcade machine. But now it's just, sit at home, keep to yourself. I don't know. It's just it's depressing to think about that. Probably within the next few years, arcades will probably be a non-existent thing. I think we have 2 here in Omaha, Family Fun Center, and then I think there's one more that I can think of down in Benson.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's just.
Oh well.
Isn't there one in Westroads in the basement?
Yeah.
Tilt. Oh god.
Yeah, it's a shame, but oh well, I guess that's the times. It's just like people rather play online than come over and hang out on the couch. I still prefer to go over to somebody's house and play a game. You know, if it's something where it's like a shooter where you gotta share a screen, yeah, obviously that's more fun online because who wants to crowd four, split a screen in four where you can see where everybody's at and
It's
stuff.
really not though, because I mean I remember when we played Halo all together in the same house and stuff, and I had so much more fun playing that way than you do online.
Yeah, and I agree. It's like I said, it's a dying thing, and I don't know why. I think people are just getting lazier and less personal. It definitely doesn't, increase your social interaction. I mean, online, yeah, online gaming does help be able to socialize with your friends more often and play games because it's more convenient. But I'm saying there's just something more to be had when you're all just hanging out on the couch playing, Super Mario Bros. Wii and having that interaction, or Mario Kart or GoldenEye like back in the day, or Ninja Turtles or anything like that, where you can all laugh and have fun and share the same screen in that aspect and be there in person. That to me is a lot more fun than everybody just being online and then quitting out whenever they don't feel like playing anymore. It's just not the same.
Well, I mean, it's like you think back to SGC when they had all the arcade games out. I had more fun playing Soul Calibur 2 than I ever did playing any of the other ones online, or I mean, just that arcade on the arcade.
Yeah.
I mean, that was tons of fun. Yeah. And it's just that's things that people are missing out on. And I just don't think they realize what they're missing out on is a thing. I think people just become so comfortable with playing online that even the people our age that used to go to arcades and stuff, I think they've completely forgotten what it's like to have that experience. And people like me and you and whoever else went to arcade, it's almost a nostalgia experience going to back to an arcade and playing again, and it just kind of brings back the memories of the childhood too.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, that's pretty much our thoughts on arcades, and like I said, we'll be doing this. It may not be every week, it just depends if we have time for it, but the deal is we'll just pick a letter of the alphabet. We'll go in order, so next time we do it, we'll start with B, and we'll just pick any random thing from gaming or anything relating to gaming. It could be a simple thing from a game, or it could be a game itself or a console or anything that we can think of that starts with that letter. And we'll just kind of give it a little discussion and reminisce about it or whatever it might be. So look forward to that in the future. That about wraps it up for this podcast. Next week we hope to have Jose formerly from Screw Attack on, and we're going to be talking some Halo 4. We'll just kind of preview it and go over everything about it. So that's the current plan. Don't hold me to it, but that's what we're hoping for. And you can find us on Facebook.com/GoombaStomp and YouTube.com/GoombaStomp Show. You guys have a great day.
Toodles.
Take it easy.